Episode number 133.
Hello, you're listening to the Career Changemaker podcast. Having the courage to leave a career that you have worked hard to build and try something else can be tough. So in each episode, we dive into key career change strategies so that you have a clear understanding of what is required to transition into a new role or a new industry without feeling like you have to start at the bottom or have to take a massive pay cut, because #ain't nobody got time for that. If you are ready for frank and honest discussions about how to become a career change maker, keep listening. I'm your host, lawyer turned career strategist and executive coach, Janine Esbrand. Hello, how are you doing? I hope you are well. So I am jumping on to talk about the topic, the one thing that you can be doing right now to be progressing your career change journey. And I wanted to talk about this topic because often people can feel like, what should I be doing? I'm not sure what I should be doing. So I want to talk about one thing that you can be doing to progress in your career change journey. And the reason why this topic has come up and I want to talk about it is that I attended a conference, a virtual conference with one of my coaches, and we were talking about this. And I thought this is so powerful, because sometimes you can know something and you may have identified something before, but have you ever been in the situation where someone says it in a way that makes you think, that's what that was? And so I want to talk to you about that now. And the way that I can illustrate it best is to talk to you about an experience with one of my clients. So I was working with a client back in April when lockdown first started, and this particular person was furloughed. And I remember having the conversation with her where she was saying, I am on furlough now and I'm not. And so now I'm trying to figure out what the next thing is. And she was getting herself all tied up in knots because she was saying, I just don't know what else I would do. I'm just not sure what else I would do. I've been working as a real estate lawyer for over 10 years and I have no idea what the next step will be. And so she spent a lot of time just going over the fact that she was feeling anxious about what the next move would look like. And she's trying to figure it out. And so I remember us having one of our initial conversations on a coaching call. And I was saying to her, what you're doing right now is you're trying to figure out, like, how am I going to make it happen? How am I going to make a transition? What is that going to look like? And she's trying to unpack all this information and trying to make a decision based on not much. She didn't have much data to go on, but she's trying to make a decision about what should I do next? What should I do next? And the thing that I want to share with you, and the thing that I shared with her on that call, was the first thing that you need to do, the number one thing that you need to do is make a decision. Make a decision. And it's so simple, it sounds, but it's so important, because oftentimes when you're trying to decide what you're going to do, we don't actually make a decision. You go back and forth and you're trying to look at, okay, well, what's the evidence? Does it look like I'm going to be able to make a move? Does it look like I'm going to be able to find something that fits with my experience and what I've done? Does it look like the marketplace is such that I'm going to be able to do something different? So we're looking at external factors, and sometimes those factors are not always considered in the right way. And then we're trying to say, well, like, shouldn't I? And you're going back and you're going forward about what the next step should be. But if you are able to make a decision and say, regardless of what the circumstances are, what I'm going to have to do, I'm making a decision about what I want life to look like. I'm making a decision about what the end goal should be. That is when things can really happen. That is when there can be real movement. Because for my client, when she really truly decided that I am not going back to the role that I was doing before because I didn't enjoy it, and I am going to figure out what the alternative is, when she made that decision and she stood firm in that decision, it meant that it wasn't a case of, should I do something else? Should I stay where I am? It wasn't a case of going back and forth between those two decisions. It was, I've decided that I'm moving. So now what am I going to do? I've made the decision. So now what am I going to do? And then she was able to focus on, well, what does that look like for me? What do I want it to look like? And the result of her making that decision and being firm on that, it meant that within the space of time that she was in the program, she was able to go from taking voluntary redundancy because she knew she didn't want to go back, and then landing a new role like 4 weeks after that. Was it 4 weeks or 8 weeks? She landed a new role within a few months because she made a decision that she wasn't going to go back. And then the how, like how is that going to all pan out and what is that all going to look like? We worked that out afterwards. She worked that out afterwards, and then she was able to transition into a role which she's now really enjoying. Okay. So I want you to really think about, are you making a decision? Or are you just going back and forth about what it needs to look like right now? First and foremost, are you making a decision that you need to make a change or that you're going to make a change? And then figuring out what that looks like. It's not necessarily easy. Figuring out where you need to go and what you need to do next and how the pieces are going to fit together. That is a process. It is a process. But first and foremost, the thing that you can do to decide that it's going to be different. You can decide that you want to make a change and that you're going to take control of your career and make a change. And like I said earlier, if you are someone who's trying to figure out all of the pieces of the puzzle and you don't necessarily know where to start with that, then book a call and let's talk about it. Let's talk about where you should be focusing your energies right now, depending on where it is that you are in the process. But ultimately, the one thing that you can be doing, make a decision. And I want to talk to you a little bit more now about the power of that. The power of making a decision and why you need to really be thinking about this. And not necessarily just in this area of your life, like in all areas, making decisions so important. So one of the things that I talk about to clients a lot is the fact that what you think and what you believe to be true impacts the action that you take and ultimately the results that you get. So if you have ever spoken to a coach or you've worked with a coach, you know that people often talk about limiting beliefs, and the beliefs that you have about what is possible or not possible for you can often either propel you forward or they can hold you back, right? So if I don't believe that it's possible for me to find a new role in the midst of a pandemic, then I'm not going to be taking action to actually look for a role, secure a role, or do all of the things because I believe that it's not possible. And so your belief will then inform the thoughts that you start having about your situation. And then the thoughts that you have will impact whether or not you're taking action or not. And if you don't take any action, you're not going to see any results. So I talk a lot about that. And one thing that my coach was sharing was that before you even get to the belief part, before you even get to whether I believe this to be true or not, or what thoughts I'm having about a particular scenario, before you get there, the first thing is a decision. The first thing is making a decision. And so when you think about where you are now in the journey and where you are now in the process, and you think about the results that you have, you think about the position that you're in, it really ties back to a decision that you made. It really ties back to a decision that you made, because if you are somebody who has been thinking about for a long time that you want to make a career move, if you have been feeling stuck and annoyed and frustrated in the role that you're in right now, and that's how you've been for a long time, then ultimately you've made a decision not to take action. And you thought about it, you said you wanted to do it, you may have articulated that I want to make a move and this isn't working for me, but you made a decision, whether that was on a conscious or subconscious level, that you were not going to take action. Because if you had made a decision to take action, you would have done it by now. And so what is really, really powerful is recognizing that you have control over the decisions that you make. You can make a decision to take a step forward, or you can make a decision to stay where you are. You can make a decision that the way that your life is right now is how it's going to stay, or you can make a decision that you're going to transform it completely. So I think about when I was working as a corporate lawyer and I was at the stage where I was like, this isn't really working anymore for me and the lifestyle that I want to have. And I made a decision. I didn't necessarily know what my career was going to look like going forward. I hadn't had all the pieces figured out yet, but I did know what I didn't want. I did know that working as a corporate lawyer, as a new parent, wasn't what I wanted to do. So I made a decision right then and there that I wasn't going to do this anymore. I wasn't going to do this anymore because I wanted my life to look different. And once I made that decision, then opportunities came up and the path kind of figured itself out. And now I find myself here where I have a portfolio career where I run my coaching practice and then I also work as a lawyer on a part-time basis. But that wouldn't have happened had I not made a decision. I could have still been working as a corporate lawyer and not feeling happy or fulfilled in the work that I was doing, right? So I want to encourage you, make a decision first. Don't necessarily look for all of the evidence and look for all of the pieces of the puzzle to be there and set where they should be before you make a decision. If you make the decision first, then that is going to inform the beliefs that you have about what is possible for you next. And then the thoughts that you have are going to be different. And then the action that you take is going to be different. And then the results that you take are going to be different. So if you make a decision that despite the fact that we are in a global pandemic, you are still going to be able to make a move in your career. And if you believe that if there's other people who are landing roles right now, and I know there are because I work with some of those people, then I can do that too. And then if you have thoughts about the possibilities for you and you have thoughts about what life could look like if you really did make this transition right now, then you're likely to then take the right type of action. You're likely to take aligned action, whether that is you getting the right support so you can move forward, whether that is putting yourself out there more, whether that is you networking or looking for the right opportunities. Whatever that looks like for you, you will start to take aligned action because you believe that it's possible for you. And then because you're taking action in the right ways and in the right places, then you're going to get the type of result that you're looking for, which is to actually make your transition. So it all starts from making a decision that you no longer want to put up with having a lifestyle where you're just saying, oh, I don't want to do this. Oh, I'm showing up and I'm having to do this again. Or, oh, this is so frustrating. Or I've just found myself in a position where my job is at risk. Like, what are we going to do about it? Make a decision that things are going to change and then everything else can flow from there. And it's just so interesting because this is the type of stuff that I work with clients on, but the way that she articulated it and broke down the fact that the decision comes first just made me think, yes, because I know that there is going to be someone listening to who needs to make a decision so that things can change, so that things can be different. And like I said, my client, when she was going back and forth about, oh, like, what could I do? Could I actually move? Like, I've been in law for so long. Could I do something different? What does that even look like? When she was doing that, she'd been going around in circles with this decision for months and months and months. And it took the pandemic to really make her think, okay, like, should I make a decision right now? And then when she did, everything changed. Everything changed for her. So there's that knock-on effect once you stand in that. So what are we going to do about it? So I hope you found that useful. So the one thing that you can be doing to really move things forward for you in terms of making your career transition and progressing in that area is make a decision that you want things to be different. Make a decision that life is going to be different for you and you're not just going to stay stuck being frustrated in the role that you're in. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Career Changemaker podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love for you to let me know what your biggest takeaway has been. So head over to Instagram, tag me at Career Changemaker, and let me know your thoughts. What did you like most about today's episode? I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, keep working towards your career goals, and we will speak very, very soon.